Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to share with you this embossing folder, brand new from Spellbinders. They did send these items free of charge for my review, and all opinions are my own. And any links I have in the description box will be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission if you purchase items to those links. So with Spellbinders, on the 20th of the month, they launch their new items for that month. And so on the 20th, which was yesterday, they did have several new things launched, including some really, really sweet embossing folders, some sets that have to do with like sweets and things like that as the weeks go on. But today I'm going to start off with this embossing folder here. So these are one of the new embossing folders. This one's called Scallops. As you can see, I have it there. Of course, yours will come packaged differently. This is a sample, so it's a little bit different. Feels nice and thick. Of course, I'm going to grab some paper and we're going to have some fun with this. If you are a member of the Spellbinders Club, any of the clubs, you get 10% off your purchase every day. People ask about that. When you log in, the price you see logged in already has the discount taken off of it. Okay, it's not something that comes off later. Having said that, they are running a special that I believe ends on the 22nd. I'll have that information in the description box of $25 off of a $100 purchase. And that's for everybody. It's not just for club members. So as soon as you put $100 worth of stuff in your cart, the $25 will be taken off. So that's something you can take advantage of in the next day or two. That's Sorry about that. So yeah, they also have some really pretty new kind of like filigree dyes, very delicate, beautiful designs with those new dyes. So you guys can check those out. I'll have the links, in the description box there. The other thing I do want to mention about the sizing of this is it is about 4.5 by 6. It's a little bit smaller on the inside of that, so it's probably going to be about a 4.25 by 5.5 design. So it's more of an A2 size folder, which is really great. So what I'm going to do is probably play with it in a few ways. I'm going to grab some papers, definitely some white core cardstock, some regular cardstock, maybe play with some inks. I don't know if I'm going to actually finish a project in this one, but we will definitely play with this. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have my embossing folder here. I do have some white core paper. I have some regular paper. I'm using a colored paper because a lot of times I think we think white when we're embossing, especially if we're going to play with ink and things like that. But we can do something fun. And then I do have some white paper for a different reason, but I'll show you that in just a minute. So again, just regular paper. This folder doesn't have, the Spellbinders logo or anything on it. So when you feel it, there's going to be a side that will push up into your paper, and there's going to be a side that takes that pushing up into it. So it's recessed. So the side that's pushed up, if you want to place your paper with the side that you want facing up on top of that, that'd be the best way to do it. Unless you want it to be debossed, then you want to flip it around the other way if there's a direction on your paper. But if not, otherwise, I'm just going to sit it on there. It's going to push up into this purple paper. So it's just a little lavender. I cut it down to like 5.5 by 4.25, so as you can see, it fits in here perfectly. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Obviously I have several of them. Whatever your sandwich is for an embossing folder is great. I believe these are a basic, it's not a 3D embossing folder, it's just a basic embossing folder. So whatever you need for that will work. I know some people will have questions about the marquee because I work with that very often. It is a little too wide to go into the marquee. Just a little bit too wide. So I'm going to use the Gemini Junior, I believe, and I think the plate I'll need is just the cutting plate and then the plastic shim. And I'll run this through and I'll be right back. Okay, that's why we always try it out. That was a little bit too thin, so it's just the 2 cutting plates for that system. And there we go. Nice and lovely, look at that. And if you have a paper that's super thick and you notice it starts cracking or something like that when you run it through your machine, what you can do the next time, I usually just would use it, but you can spray with a little bit of water. So just have a spray bottle with some water in it. Like I have one here that I use when I do flowers and stuff. Just squirt it a little bit, just a little bit. And let that get in there and then go ahead and run it through. And that should help, keeping your paper from cracking, if that's something you run into. Real quickly, what I want to do is show you that you can use, whatever gilding waxes, whatever things you like to use on top of that. Right now I'm just going to quickly grab another purple color and of ink, and this is just a fast drying ink, and I probably should protect my surface here, but you can come in and just slightly go over the top so that the embossing is what shows up a little more. I'm being very careful because I didn't put anything under here, but you can do that and then just, you know, put some however you like, very artsy, do the whole thing or however you want to do it, and it'll just pop that little bit of scale in this, or scallops in this situation. So the next one I want to show you is just simply the same thing, and I'll show you what I mean by spraying with a little water on this one, just why not? So this is the paper I want to use, and I would just kind of give it a little spray. Now this is a very fine mist, so that works out really well. And that little bit of water just kind of gets in there and helps you get a really nice embossing, in case you're using a paper that's kind of brittle or super thick. A lot of times it's really thick papers that'll give you that issue. So I'm just going to place it on here again, scales coming up. And I'll run this through and I'll be right back. All right. And I use the same sandwich, and I do want to show you, this is interesting because this has a white cardstock core. You can kind of see that little cracking, so that's kind of what I was talking about. That's why you want to spray, because sometimes it'll be very deep, and just depending on the paper you're using. And then from here, what I want to show you, actually it looks really nice right now. It already looks kind of distressed and kind of fun because of that white core, but you can take a like a buffing block and just come in here, and you can get these from the nail section of any store really, and just rub that on there, and that white core comes through. And what I mean white core paper is when you buy paper, you can tell if it has like a white edge that the core is white. Sometimes it's a solid color, like this one's purple all the way through, right? There's no white edge. So it really wouldn't work on this if I went to rub it, because it would just be the same color underneath. So if you ever see that you have a white core paper, you can definitely do this with it. And as much as you would like to get in there, but I try not to do too much, just so you don't want to squish down your embossing. But there it is. And one other thing I want to show you, and let me grab some items to do that and I'll be right back. One other thing I would like to try here is just using some inks. Now, I know a lot of times people will try to use inks and it doesn't look quite right, or if for like a letterpress look, you really want to use like a pigment ink because it sticks, right? Anything sticky, like thick ink, will be great. You want to use your water-based inks, like anything that says dye-based or water. It's gonna want to repel, and it still gives a cool look. It's just not gonna be as crisp or, you know, maybe as nice as what you're wanting it to be. So I would recommend pigment inks, but you can do whatever you like. I am gonna use a brayer, but you don't have to do that. You know, it's up to you. So let me show you what I want to do. So this piece of paper is just a piece of paper I have here. It's just thick white cardstock, and it's cut at 4 1/4, so I'm just going to leave it that way. Another thing you can do is die cut pieces and then run them through your embossing folder. Don't feel like you have to have just, you know, rectangles every time, or like an A2 mat or however size. Just, you know, you can play with that part. So I'm going to put this down just to protect my surface a little bit. And this time I'm going to work on the part that, again, is facing up, you know, the part that's raised. That means it'll push the color into my paper. If you want something different, you're going to have to put the color on this other side, but then all these little scales are going to be what's actually colored. And we can try both ways just so you can see it actually, since my paper is long enough. So let's try both ways. And I am not sure. As far as these papers, I think this one's darker. I was trying to see which one's darker and lighter, but you know what? I'm just going to go for it because I'm not real sure on the colors. So that's okay. So you can definitely just take this. Oh, look at that. I already have some other fun things I was doing with it. And you can just dab, dab, dab over the top. And I don't know if you can see because it's a very light color. It's already on there, that little white, light bluish. Or you can take a brayer and just go over the top, and I don't know if you can see it does cover more area. This is going to be very artsy. I'm not looking for perfect, I'm looking for fun. So we have that one, and then let me see if I can wipe this down. I'm only going to wipe it down because I'm going to go right into the next color. You could always also just dab, dab, dab your color into something, onto a surface, and then pick it up from there, but I don't know if you can see I still got some of that blue on there, and that's okay. I'll roll over this guy and wipe that down a little bit, and over this last bit. Now this is pigment ink. It takes a while to dry. If you want to heat set it when you're done, you can do that. You can also put maybe embossing powder, which would be really cool because it'll give it it would settle in there and look shiny. So there's lots of different ways we can play with this. And I'm gonna get my paper. And I'm just gonna place it there. Again, this paper's already really cut at 4 1/4, so I don't want that to move at all. And again, same sandwich, I'm gonna run it through my machine and I'll be right back. Ooh, look at that. And there it is, and I see the color is pushed into the paper. Pretty cool. So this took up a lot of the paper. I was just going to switch it over to this side. Maybe I'll still do that, just so you can see both ways. Okay, so now this time I'm going to put it on the side that's opposite, right? The raised side. I'm not going to clean this off. You can, but it's just going to be on the back of my paper, so I don't mind that. And we can do this, and maybe this time what I'll show you is just dabbing this in there. I'm just tapping. I'll go into the next color. If you don't want your colors to mix, then don't do this. Definitely use the brayer. And the last one. Again, I don't mind if I get color on the opposite side because it's going to be on the back of my paper. So you can blend it a little more if you like. And then even at that, you can take your brayer and kind of mess with it, but I'm going to leave it just the way it is, just in case you don't have a brayer. And if I put it this way, we just get an idea of what this might look like. Okay, again, I'm going to run it through, same sandwich, and I'll be right back. And hopefully you can see that it got pushed in there. Now, it's not crisp white because I didn't clean this off from when I used this, but I kind of like that look. But either way, you know, if you want to wash it off. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and wash this with some water and everything so you can see this will get cleaned up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just cut these two apart. So now we have the two different ones. I guess we can do it this way or however you want the scales to be. It doesn't really matter, or the scallops. One other thing, like I said, since I didn't wash it out, that, you know, it's not super crisp white here, but again, you can take your little handy tool and scrub, and you can scrub some of that off and make that white pop it a little bit more again. So hopefully you see the difference between pushing in the color on this or just putting it on the raised part and letting it go into the paper. Okay, so that's same thing. Just rinsed it with water and we're good to go, ready to go for the next one. And we have a few different ways to use them. And of course, after this, you just build up whatever, you know, you add your little sentiments or your images or your die cuts, whatever it is that you're putting on top of it. So yeah, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. You'll see me working with that here and there. And thank you so much, Spellbinders, for sending these items for my review. I'll have some images for you guys and links that are in the description box. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye now.